Alright, so now after all this, you're probably thinking, by God. So what you're saying is that I have to make my story original, character-driven, and plot-driven, filled with action, but also with important and fresh insights on the human condition. And I can't sound like a TV or film or series bestseller, but I can't sound too lyrical either because I may sound like I'm bragging. Well, how do I do that, right? And that's a perfectly legitimate question. I just want to say, we're talking about extremes examples here. But okay, if you thought that writing a novel was easy, you were wrong. Writing a novel is very hard, and writing a novel that's commercially viable is really hard. So, what's the answer? Well, the answer is not simple. You start with dedication, patience, multiple drafts, peer feedback, and you carefully observe your environment and the craft. You study the craft, and you nurture your creativity without giving in to your ego. In conclusion, if you're driven to writing, you probably already have a lot of vivid ideas, interesting characters, and compelling premises to explore. But the difficulty is allowing a little bit of the structure, this thing that we call the basic elements of craft, to permeate the creative impulse without destroying the creative impulse. So what we have to do is to be mindful of how things are done. And these are not rules. I don't like to call them rules. Because as soon as you start calling them rules, then you start getting into the discourse about, is this a formula? Do we write as a formula? These are not formulas. These are guidelines. These are the elements of what makes this art what it is. Obviously, if it's dance, it's dance. You can't call it fiction. And dance has the element of visualness in it, and it has the element of movement. So if you take away the element of movement, can you still call it dance? Maybe, but I think then we get into really thin territory. Well, think of it in the same way with fiction. There are certain things that the element of the craft that it needs to be observed. But at the same time, I think we all recognize that there's a part about it. It's very mystical. It's very kind of numinous and mysterious. And that part is the creative part. It's the part where we sit down with ourselves and we start dreaming and we think about wonderful stories that we want to tell. And what's really difficult about writing, but what's really exciting about it too, is to be able to strike that delicate balance between being able to dream something that's really fantastical and interesting and compelling and poignant, and at the same time to be able to maneuver our understanding of the craft in order to create these stories. So the trick of successful writing, as I write here, is to find the synergy and the harmony between creativity and craft. It's hard to do, but it's also exciting. That's all for today, and thank you.